So this is Eric Hunter here, and let's talk about where do the answers come when you're doing dowsing? Where do the answers come from? And I'm doing this video in response to something I hear all the time, and it just kind of drives me crazy. So I want to talk about it. All right. So I hear people say all the time, I am the one giving the answers, so therefore I don't trust the dowsing, and I feel like it's wrong, like because I know it's coming from me. And yeah, like if you're biasing the answer, if you're creating the answer, like let me give you an example. Like let's say, you've got a big day tomorrow and you shouldn't drink any alcohol tonight. But then you're like, well, I really want a glass of wine, like so then you take your pendulum and you're like, okay, so what is it in my highest good to have a glass of wine? And then of course it goes to yes, because that's what you really want. Yeah, sure. That's not good. You know what I mean? Like that's not a way to get accurate answers if you're just completely forcing the answer. But there are some subtleties to that. And the thing that I feel is really important to understand is that you are the one giving the answer when you do this procedure correctly. Now, hopefully you're not biasing the answer by forcing a result that you want. But if you are doing it correctly, you are the source of the answer. And I want to explain how that works. So let's look at some diagrams here, because this is the point that people really get hung up on, and it messes up your dowsing and makes it not effective. So when dowsing is done correctly, where do the answers come from? Now, most people who are beginners or who are really scared or whatever of dowsing, they think it's outside forces controlling their hand. And a lot of people really want this too. They want their spirit guide to give them the answer. Or if you have sort of a dark view of things, you might be like, oh, a demon is controlling my pendulum, or some evil spirit is making my pendulum move and give it the answers. And, I personally am not a big fan of that. But the main thing is, like, let's just say, for example, that it is possible that there are outside forces affecting your pendulum. Would they necessarily be a very good source of information? I mean, what does your spirit guide know about like getting a loan from the bank or going to the grocery store and having a successful trip or something like that? Or what does your spirit guide know about healing the physical body? It's possible they don't know anything because they're not even in this realm for the most part. I mean, they might just do stuff for your highest consciousness and not really care about your physical needs. So I mean, now I am going to show you a way that you can get information from spirit guides, but this whole idea that you should surrender and just let the pendulum be moved by a spirit, or even if it's a beneficial spirit, like a spirit guide or an angel or God or whatever, I am not a fan of that technique. And I find it to be very, very inaccurate. And also it opens you up to things potentially that you don't want to be open to. All right. Now, the other thing where people are concerned, and this is a just concern, is that the answer is coming from inside of you, like you're unconscious. So now these could be like, when I'm saying this, I'm thinking like it's something internal. So it could be like a belief that you strongly have, and then it just shows up without even your own awareness that that's the answer because you believe it. Or it could be like earlier, that example I gave in the beginning, like you want something so badly that you just make it happen. But it's all internal. Now, this is obviously a terrible source of information because you're not referencing anything outside of yourself. It's all internal. It's all stuff that's either from the past, or it's your biases, or it's just things like, you might feel strongly about something and then someone asks you a question, and then because of some biases you hold inside, you just give them an answer based on your biases. I've seen this a lot, like where someone is really wanting to get pregnant, and then they'll do this and they're like, oh yeah, I'm pregnant. And then it like, they're not, or it's like, oh, is it going to be a girl or a boy? Oh, it's definitely a girl. Oh, it's definitely a boy. and then it's wrong, because you want it so bad and you're not referencing anything outside of yourself. You're just relying on your internal navigation, which may or may not be very accurate. All right, there is a better way to do all this, and it's using your senses. And this is the best of both worlds, because you can even do the spirit guide stuff with this. And this is how it works. So with your senses, what you do is we are highly sensitive beings. We are more sensitive than any machine can be with our sense systems. And we have, the normal senses of hearing, taste, smell, sight, touch, etc. But if you're watching this channel, you know that there are other senses too. You can feel energy, you can sense things, you get intuition, gut knowing. Some of you can literally like smell energy, taste it, see it, all sorts of things. So there's way more than just our normal senses. So what you can do if you are aware of this and you have this as your intention, you can rapidly increase the effectiveness of your dowsing by turning your dowsing into a sensory activity. So you're not being controlled by something outside. You're not just using your internal reference sources. You are projecting your consciousness out into the world, but in a focused way, but with a question or wanting an answer, or, like with the dowsing. And then you are sensing what the answer is based on that. And then you're allowing that information to come in, to be processed through your, subconscious. I mean, your unconscious, not your subconscious, but your unconscious. Like you're allowing your hand to move on the chart. I have an effective dowsing chart there. I highly recommend that program. It's much more accurate than yes or no with your pendulum. So, you're not necessarily, you're not like forcing your hand to go in one direction or the other, but based on the sensory input you're getting, your hand is moving the pendulum towards an answer. So I hope that was kind of clear how this works. You ask a question, you're projecting your consciousness just by, you don't have to do anything special, just have the awareness that that's what's going on. So, like, is it in my highest good to drink that glass of wine? And if you are completely objective and then just put your consciousness out there, you will feel if it's good or not. And then if you'll allow the answer to show up by the movement of your hand, which you are moving, by the way. You are moving your hand. It's the only way the pendulum moves is when you move it. So just forget that when people say, oh, it's biased because I'm moving it. No, you're always moving it. It's never not you moving it. If there was nothing moving it, it would just stand perfectly still. So you've got to move it. All right. So get over that. All right. Okay. So it should be a sensory activity where you are projecting your senses out. You are sensing something in turn, and then you're registering what you sense with your hands. I highly recommend using a chart because I've found that's much more accurate than doing yes or no in the air. Because even if you like train your pendulum and stuff, what I found is that the yes and no constantly will change the direction of yes and no. And also it doesn't allow for any nuance. So if you have a chart like this one that's in the illustration there, the effective dowsing chart that's based on energy, it's calibrated to the sun's energy. We have a very intuitive understanding of solar energy because we're diurnal animals that evolved in the sun. So we understand what these different energies mean on a very deep intuitive level. And also these energies relate to archetypal forces that are in nature that have symbolic meaning, which is useful for us. So like blue-green energy is the energy of the summer, health, youth, vitality. It's like the ultimate like kind of energy. And that energy is the 100% yes. So, intuitively, if you're dowsing one of these energy charts and you ask your question, you sense that it's a yes based on the way it feels, based on whatever factors you take in, then your hand is going to go intuitively to the right energy. It's going to go to the 100% yes, because it intuitively understands that that is how you translate into a 100% yes, because it's all intuitive and it's based on stuff that goes way, way deep in our psyche. So I recommend the chart. That's in the effective dowsing course. If you haven't taken it, if you have taken it, use that chart. It's better than yes, no, but you can use yes, no in a pinch. To summarize, the best way and the most accurate way to do dowsing is to turn it into a sensory activity. You are projecting your consciousness out into the world and you're sensing what the answer is. And this is highly effective. The more you settle in with this idea and the more you realize that, yes, you are the one moving the pendulum and just being okay with that, you can get to a place where you are relatively neutral in the sense that you're not forcing an answer. You are biasing the pendulum though, because if you were neutral, it wouldn't move. You wouldn't get any response to your question. So you have to bias it. You have to not be neutral in order for this to work too. That's another thing. Don't ever try to be neutral with dowsing. If you try to be neutral with dowsing, you're not going to get an answer, because the only way you get an answer is if you become polarized, if you go one way or the other. But the key thing is, think of it as a sensory activity. You're sensing something, you sense what an answer is, and then you allow your hand to translate that into a motion of the pendulum that you can interpret as an answer. And of course, never rely on dowsing 100%, because while I found that certain types of dowsing can be very effective and you can get a lot of insight into things, you always want to check it with real world data, like other people's opinions, research, etc., and use the dowsing as one piece of the puzzle to give you some info, or to give you some insights into things that you might not be able to get some insight into. And it can be surprisingly effective, but always grounded in real world stuff. All right, well, I hope this video was useful and you learned something. Thanks for watching it. Please hit the like button if you liked it. Please subscribe to my channel. And I have an awesome website, pendulumalchemy.com, that will help you a lot. It will really help you to use your pendulum to make your life better and to make the lives of those you love better. So if you are into energy, if you love healing work, if you are really committed to helping, people and animals and everything do better, well, check out my website, because you can use that information to make your life better and to help others. All right, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.